Well, you are accountable for your own success, and that's probably not news for you. We all have special skills and capabilities that, if we could tap into them and discover them, could take us really to the next level of our careers and our lives. Shane Mincer is the Chief Talent Officer, and he is here with all of the best ways for us to invest in our career. Shane, welcome back to Smart Life. Good to have you. I think a lot of us understand maybe what needs to happen in our career, and we'll take a step in that direction, but we get distracted with work and we have trouble sticking to it. What's your advice for those people who really, they want to make the attempt this time? It's almost like a diet. They want to make the attempt this time, but they want to be able to stick to it.
That's a great question. I think we've talked about this before, but we get into these habits in our lives. We get into these ruts in our careers, and all of us have these incredible talents. Whatever you do is a talent. What we do is a talent. If we don't really exercise and develop and understand what we have to offer to others, a lot of times we can fall into, I guess, in our minds, regression, or in a sense, our time is not as worth as maybe it might have been last week or last year. And so I think it's important, we talk about discovering our assets, going through an inventory in regards to what you're passionate about. For example, this idea of maximizing your time, finding efficiency in what you do. It gets down to valuing, a lot of people, whatever you do, and like wherever your heart is, there shall your treasure be. People have heard that before. But like a lot of people consume a lot of their time in entertainment. And I'm the first one to convince. I spend too much time watching movies that are unproductive, that don't really strengthen my mind. And so I challenge people as I represent individuals, attorneys, accountants, leaders, marketplace forward leaders. I challenge them to excel in their career. And a lot of the ways you can do that is by sitting down. You can journal and finding out really what you're passionate about. A lot of people are doing things they don't love. And so I say, you know what? Go home, find out where your heart's at. What do you spend most of your time thinking about? And then build it, do something new. There's some incredible people in this town alone right now that are doing things that people have never even heard of yet. And the one day, maybe in 3 years from now, it'll be $1 billion company. Because they had that vision, they had that desire and that passion. But Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 of it sharpening my axe. And I really live by that, because a lot of us, our skills get dull like that axe.
That's a great point, because I think that's one of the things that has most changed about career success these days. I think, 20 years ago, you got that master's degree, or you got that PhD, or that MD, or whatever, and you were well on your way, and you could kind of sit back and do the cushy life thing. It's really not that way anymore. Continuing education is critical to those who want to stay on the cutting edge of their career, and certainly to those who want to advance.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, we're given these incredible talents and gifts and abilities, but they're not really for ourselves. I mean, we can talk about self-help and it's all about me. It could be the Shane show, but it could be the Gina show. But you're here for your audience, you're here for others. I'm here, I place other people on their talent, that people want to hire them because of their talent. And so I knock on the door, I seek and ask and try and find the best talent I can for my clients. But my talents are to find people, right? Well, all of us have these talents. You might be talented at surfing, right? You might be talented at doing an analyst or whatever, but you're doing it within the context of people. And so we get back to conflict and growing. Whenever you get involved with groups, dynamics, you're gonna get conflicts. You're gonna have to deal with hard people, hard bosses to deal with. And that's where the challenge of growing personally, that personal development, going back home. Another thing is finding time in the morning. We talked about this journaling, and finding value in things that maybe, a lot of times people that don't do that, they lose margin in their life. They lose the grace of life, the love of life, the love of learning. Their perspective.
And the perspective, yeah. I think that's really true. How do you know if you're stagnant? How do you know? You're
That's
in
a great question.
And you're working it and you're making great money, and what is a determinant of stagnant? How can I self-diagnose that?
Well, I just had a quick lunch this morning, or early, about an hour ago, and very successful individual. But he is at that career rut. He's at that. He needs that vision. And I told him, I asked him why he went back to school. What did he do? And he's done some phenomenal things in this town. But he's at that career transition where, in a sense, he needs to discover and find himself. In a sense, maybe he's lost himself in some way. So I challenged him. I said, this weekend, what I want you to do this week, I want you to get a journal. I want you to write everything you think and feel. Talk to your spouse. Tell them, be honest with and authentic and be real. Like what Dean was talking about, just that real, authentic relationship. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to find what you love. You're gonna have joy for life. And even just that time, maybe an hour in the morning with God or with your spouse or with your best friend over coffee in the morning. Share, ask these questions and ask. You'll walk away, I think, with different perspective. You'll have new energy. You'll have new perspective. We talk about shaking it up, doing things differently. When we do that in these ruts, we talked about that when you're sailing out there. It's no fun to be dead in the water without it. Well, that's the time when you want to get around people that support you, be authentic with them, and maybe look at things prospectively. I've even challenged people, go take your vacation time, go away, get away from your job, and start finding what really matters in life.
So, but for people who are trying to take the first steps in this, and you deal with these people all the time, you are constantly dealing with talent and people who need talent. There have to be some really concrete things that we can do. So when you are looking at people across the board in your profession, if you had to name one thing that really contributes the most tangibly to taking your career to the next level, what is that one thing?
I think it's valuation. Most people are undervalued. Most people don't know what they're worth. Most people don't have the tenacity to shoot for the stars, to dream. I said, what is your dream role? Let me create it for you. A lot of people are like, I don't know. Because they're in this 9 to 5, I asked them, do you know what your time's worth? If you're working 80 hours a week and you might be making $150,000, let's talk about your hourly bill rate. It's pretty low. It's not a leveraged business model. The smarter you become, the more that you're able to leverage yourself in the marketplace. And that gets back to value. I come alongside people and I'm just blown away sometimes. Some people are just like, they don't see their talents and gifts and abilities. And it's like obvious. I'm like, wow, you don't see how gifted you are with this.
I think that's really
true. And sometimes they need that. That's what a good recruiter and advisor like Dean and Sam, for people that are accountants, attorneys, advisors, best friends are advisors, people that you trust. I think we're going to talk about that on the next one, but people that we trust, that you build relationships with. And they're going to give you a sense of, they're going to catapult you or excel you or increase your net worth. You want to talk about investing wisely. We talked about time management. If you spent that time with your son out there, as Dean was talking about out there, your life will be changed because you're putting that whole day into that one son of yours.
Right.
And all of a sudden that dynamic is explosive. Well, what if someone did that with God? Or what if someone did that with their boss or with their best friend that they've neglected? How's it going? It's not about you. You change when they change you. You become a different person.
I think that's well said. I think one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to value other people's talents and take our own for granted, and therefore it's very hard to evaluate and attribute a value to that, just like you were saying. Thanks for being with us, Shane. Where can we find you online?
ChiefTalentOfficer.com.
ChiefTalentOfficer.com.